Welcome everybody to our new community Q&A, and I'm very happy to be here with Mr. Ant Haynes, not only a great athlete but also a great coach. And today we thought it would be very interesting to talk about the CrossFit Open and common mistakes that people make. But before we delve into that, I would love for you to introduce yourself before we start, for people that wouldn't know who you are.
Cool. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on here.
Thank you.
So, retired athlete, used to play rugby. I basically retired at 24 years old. Love competing. Naturally found CrossFit through work with a strength and conditioning background. Learning CrossFit was growing as a natural avenue for me to get into something competitive again. Love the idea of learning new skills. And from there, obviously, just developing. Something that I didn't see so much in my previous rugby career was continual, obvious development, something that's tangible. I know the number on the sheet's going up, or whatever it might be is going up. So having that was great, and I love CrossFit now as my new adopted sport, and I compete in it, and I love coaching it. I work in here every single day, and it's never a chore to come into work, and it's a pleasure to coach everyone here at Coast of Fitness. But yeah, it's a hard, very, very hard sport to coach. And if you're any one of my athletes, I apologize, because I'm sure they all feel my fury and fire sometimes, which I do get. But no, it's an awesome sport to be a part of, whether you're coaching or participating actively in it.
Awesome, that's great to hear. So we'll delve into the questions.
Yeah, sure.
And actually, before we start, I would like to know in general what you think most people could lack or could be better at when participating in the CrossFit Open. What is something that you see?
Yeah, I mean, God, I think this will be my sixth Open this year, coming to 2019. And every year you see the same thing. You see people, whether they've been doing CrossFit for 5 years or they've been doing it for 2 months. People always sign up like, I don't really care about this year. It's just going to be a bit of fun. I'm just going to pay the $10 or whatever CrossFit charge me. I'm going to pay the money. I'm just going to do it because my friends are doing it and it'll be fun. 1 week in, and there's suddenly 8 attempts into 19.1, and they're dead, and they're crying, and they're injured, and it's just a nightmare. So I think the first thing to talk about in terms of CrossFit Open is competing.
Yes.
Competing is definitely a skill within itself, and it's something that can be massively developed. Obviously with the skill of competing comes the physical and then the mental and emotional side of it. But I suppose we talk more about the physical side. This is a bit easier to talk about, a bit more obvious, and again tangible to people to realize and actually do. But yeah, it's a skill that is developed through doing. Like I told you before, if you're gonna try to do a muscle up, you ain't gonna do a muscle up really without doing the prerequisites to doing a muscle up. So if you don't try to do a muscle up, you're never gonna get the muscle up.
Absolutely.
If you want to be good at competing, you're gonna have to try to compete in some sort of scenario, whether it's in your local gym, whether it's the CrossFit Open at another gym, whether it's regionals or like a local throwdown, or whether it's the CrossFit Games or a team competition. They're all very different types of competing, but they'll all have the same sort of idea surrounding it in terms of mental mindset, how the body's prepared for it, how you go into each workout, so on and so forth. So I think it's a skill in itself.
Absolutely. I love the way you word that, competition as a skill, because most people don't think about developing that skill. So what is one of the obvious things that people could start with to get better at developing that skill?
Yes.
In your opinion?
Yeah, so I think let's take the CrossFit Open again. I know that's kind of the theme here. So I think with the CrossFit Open being a 5-week competition as such, obviously there's only 5 workouts done, but it does last a long time. So the first thing that you see people lose sight of is their goal to start. At the beginning, when they signed up initially, when they first joined your gym, whether for the right or wrong reasons, if they've been there for 3 or 4 months, the reasons have probably changed, right?
Yes.
So whatever goal they have before they start the CrossFit Open is probably the reason they started CrossFit.
Absolutely.
And their new reason at least. So what normally happens is you get 2 or 3 weeks into CrossFit Open, suddenly people hate CrossFit. They hate the fact that Dave Castro put a muscle up in first. They hate the fact there's double unders they still haven't gotten. I think the first thing is I think it's a good practice to write down your goal and your why to why you're doing it.
Absolutely.
Exactly why, I got into this to be a better mother. I got in this to be a more energetic father, husband, brother, whatever it might be. And that's your goal, and don't let whatever goes on in the 5 weeks affect that end goal.
That's amazing.
Obviously, something can develop. A competitive fire might develop throughout the 5 weeks, and then you go on to be the next Matt Fraser. Who knows? But that's just something that should be kept in sight the whole time. Yeah.
That's something foundational that you mentioned, that it's very important that people lose sight of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean that's from a coaching standpoint. Yeah. You see it all the time. You have people do an attempt and it doesn't go the way they want, and you feel sympathy for them. You always want people to do well, unless they're trying to beat your score.
Correct.
Otherwise, you want your clients and your athletes to do well, and it's heartbreaking to see someone not get the results that they think they're going to set out to be. So to get. So I think the next thing from that is not only having your goals, but is to be very realistic and understand where you're at. And a lot of the time, people and individuals, and myself included, you can definitely become overreach where you actually think you're going to go, or where you really should be. Training's been going great for the last 2 or 3 months. I really think I'm going to nail my muscle up this time, or I actually think I'm going to be top 50 in my region or whatnot, and you get the crushing result in the first 19.1. Suddenly you're 250th in the region. Your goal of getting to top 50 in your region has gone out the window. So, having someone to speak about, a coach or the community around you, can kind of keep you accountable within your goal setting as well. So understanding where you actually sit within the whole region or the world. There's so many people, so many ways to compare yourself nowadays.
So we have the why, which is super important, which builds the foundation.
Yeah.
Then second thing, keep your expectations realistic.
Yeah.
And then is there anything else that you would like to elaborate on?
I think with the expectation comes keeping that end expectation in sight, and your thoughts on that. Of course you can always exceed expectations. Doesn't mean you want to set your bar low, but that bar wants to be somewhere that's realistic that we can go. Whether you go above it or below is a different story. Pushing on and really trying to reach that and making that the be all and end all for most of the people who come to this gym. It's not how it is. People have families. People have husbands, wives, kids. People have a full-time job, 9 to 5, which is super stressful. People have to travel. There's other things in life that are going on, and for me, yes, this is my priority, and being the best I can be at this sport, for me personally, is definitely what I prioritize.
Yeah.
For 99.9% of the other people that I coach, that isn't the number one priority. They got other things in life. So just again, going back to the goal and remembering where it kind of sits in the continuum. Of course, everyone's fired up, everyone wants to beat everyone, and it's always good fun. But at the end of the day, just again, remembering where we are and remembering where you are in your life.
That's absolutely true. So I want to talk about one more thing before we end this video, because I'm looking forward to next videos that we're going to be doing in the near future. Mindset. Could you elaborate on something that may be helpful to you during that period, or that could be helpful to other people during that CrossFit Open period with regards to mindset? Yeah, definitely.
With mindset comes things that you can obviously bring into your life at a time. So the first thing I always think about is the leaderboard. The leaderboard is an awesome tool where you can compare yourself to the Matt Frasers, you can compare yourself to the Tia Claire Toomey's of the world, and you're like, damn, I'm so far off so far off where I want to be. Or maybe you set yourself in a different goal. I want to be number 20 to number 50 within this age bracket, within this region. It's a much more specific target. Having said that, going in with a mindset of being positive all the time. I think this not only comes to the CrossFit Open, but I think just in general with CrossFit and training the sport of fitness, is that you're always going to fail. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day you're going to fail, but within each session there's almost always something that you failed at. And it's not how hard you take the fail, it's how hard you can take the fail, then bounce back up and go again.
Absolutely.
And you basically flip that over and say, maybe I failed at 60 kilo squat clean, but I've learned that hitting XXX beforehand wasn't a good way to do it. So you've lived and learned, and you've gone on to the next day. When you do it again, you have a different strategy when you come to it. And hopefully, obviously with the help of the coaching team and whatnot, that you can basically plan your next thing going forward. So it's not about, damn it, that test was bad for me, or damn it, I should have been good at that test, but I just completely failed. It is what it is. Of course, if I could set the best test for me possible to excel at, I would expect myself to do well. But at the end of the day, the way the sport is in the CrossFit Open, that you can be literally thrown anything. It might be 1,000 sit-ups a time.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something like the 1 rep max clean, which is the completely opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So, you know, everyone around the world is going to be good at different things, and just with the mindset, staying positive throughout. Again, going back to the goals, going back to the why,
Yes.
going back to your priorities.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just think where you are in your life and how important it is to you. Of course, I understand and you understand how important CrossFit is. People do invest a load of time, a load of money, and like a lot of emotion into it.
Mm-hmm.
So when people get, you know, annoyed and pissed off, you can't be like, hey, you know, you got a kid, go home and worry about your kid.
It's
Like,
true.
I agree, yes, you need to worry about your kid and your wife and your husband and whatnot, but at the end of the day, like, I also understand that it is important to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't compete like I compete or like other people compete,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that you're definitely judged
Yeah.
amongst your peers and that sort of thing. So to stay positive and just understand that everyone is actually striving towards the same thing at the end of the day, and everyone's there to kind of slap each other in the bum and, you know, pick each other up,
Yeah.
and you're all in it for the right reasons, then yeah, I think that's why just staying positive throughout the next 5 weeks of the Open is super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna conclude this video, but just to make a small resume of what I've learned from this conversation was setting up your why, having certain expectations, being real about expectations,
Yeah.
and learning from adversity and keeping a positive mindset, which
Yeah.
is
Perfect.
awesome, which we can implement to everything in our life. So thank you so
Definitely.
much
Thank
for
you,
your
sir.
time, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Cheers.